"Doc, I've been doing it the same way for 50 years. Why does it suddenly feel wrong?" That's what a 71-year-old patient whispered to me one morning. He wasn't on new meds. His lab work looked fine. But behind his eyes was fear, a quiet fear no one talks about. The truth. What was slowly damaging his body wasn't disease. It was how he'd been touching himself for decades. I'm Dr. Edward Blake, a board-certified urologist with over 35 years of experience helping men reclaim strength, sensitivity, and confidence in their later years without shame pills or guesswork. And in this video, I'm going to reveal the 7 silent mistakes older men make during masturbation. Mistakes that sabotage your heart, your prostate, and your ability to feel like yourself. You've been told it's healthy, but after 60, the rules change and no one warned you. One of these habits is so common, most men don't even question it until it's too late. If you want to protect your health, restore your vitality, and feel connected, again, stay with me. Because this is more than sex. It's about keeping your body and your dignity alive. Let's begin. You've been told it's normal. You've been told it's healthy. But what if some of the habits you've carried into your 60s, 70s, or even 80s are quietly undermining your health without a single symptom? Masturbation itself isn't the problem. It's how you're doing it. And most men over 60 have no idea how much damage they may be causing to their prostate, heart circulation, and even their emotional health in the privacy of their own bathroom. I'm Dr. Edward Blake, urologist, and today I want to walk you through 7 of the most common mistakes I see in my patients. Good men, smart men who are unintentionally hurting themselves in ways that show up slowly, subtly, until the damage is done. Let's get into it. Mistake 1. Using porn as the primary stimulus. This one has become increasingly common, especially since the internet made adult content instantly accessible. Men in their 60s and 70s sit in my office and say the same thing, "Doc, I can't feel much anymore." What they don't realize is that high-speed, high-intensity porn overstimulates the dopamine system. And in older age, that system doesn't reset like it used to. Over time, it becomes desensitized, leading to numbness, lower pleasure, and difficulty connecting to real physical touch, even with a partner. It's not a moral issue. It's a neurological one. And if you want to reclaim sensation, the first step is to stop flooding your brain with artificial, unrelatable imagery. Mistake 2. Masturbating on the toilet. It seems convenient, private, easy, familiar. But the position matters more than you think. When you're hunched over on the toilet, blood flow to the pelvic region is restricted. You're applying pressure to the prostate and compressing nerves that are already more fragile with age. Over time, this can lead to symptoms like dribbling, incomplete urination, aching, and even worsening benign prostatic hyperplasia (BPH) symptoms. The fix: change your environment. Stand, recline, stretch. Give your body the physical space it needs to breathe and circulate. Mistake 3. Rushing the experience. So many older men treat masturbation like a chore, something to get over with before the grandkids visit or between doctor appointments. But when you rush, your nervous system enters a state of tension. Blood vessels constrict, heart rate spikes, and the feel-good hormones oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine don't get released properly. The result? You may climax, but you feel tired, not energized, disconnected, not satisfied. And worse, over time, this trains your brain to see pleasure as something shallow and mechanical. Slow down. Let each moment count. You're not 22 anymore, and that's not a bad thing. Mistake 4. Ignoring the pelvic floor. Most men have never even heard of it. But the pelvic floor is the foundation of your bladder, your prostate, and your erection strength. After 60, this group of muscles begins to atrophy if ignored, especially if you sit a lot or bear down with pressure. The result? Weaker erections, leakage, reduced control during climax, and even pain. The solution is simple. Practice gently tightening the muscles you'd use to stop the flow of urine. This builds awareness, strength, and eventually helps restore your confidence where it matters most. Mistake 5. Masturbating too often, or not at all. Yes, both extremes are harmful. Frequent mindless stimulation can irritate the prostate, drain energy, and disconnect you from real intimacy. But going too long without arousal, that's just as dangerous. Lack of activity leads to reduced blood flow, nerve decline, and eventually a drop in testosterone and desire. The sweet spot 1-2 times per week with intention, not urgency. This keeps circulation alive and maintains your body's natural rhythm. Mistake 6. Using too much pressure or force. As sensitivity fades, many older men grip harder, press more, or try using objects to feel something. But the nerves in your penis are delicate, especially after 60. Years of aggressive friction can lead to micro-tears, loss of elasticity, even curvature or scarring. Once the tissue is damaged, healing is slow and sometimes incomplete. Instead, use lighter pressure, slower rhythm, and focus on feeling, not chasing. Your future self will thank you. Mistake 7. No emotion, no intention. This one is the most heartbreaking. Over time, many men start treating masturbation like a habit, empty, emotionless, disconnected. There's no presence, no joy, just a quiet escape from loneliness. But your body knows. When pleasure becomes mechanical, your brain stops releasing the hormones of connection. You don't get the oxytocin, the endorphins, the dopamine that make you feel alive. Instead, you feel nothing, the solution. Bring presence back into the experience. Breathe. Touch with care. This isn't about lust, it's about life. Every one of these mistakes has one thing in common: disconnection. From your body, your emotions, your health. But the good news, you can start reconnecting today. Small shifts, gentle awareness, and above all, respect for the man you still are. Because aging doesn't mean decline. Not if you pay attention, not if you care. Let me ask you a simple question. When's the last time you actually felt alive in your own body? For many men over 60, the answer is hard to say. Not because they don't care, but because they've been quietly disconnecting for years without even knowing it. And here's the truth: no one talks about these so-called private habits, the way you touch yourself, the way you think about pleasure, or even the ways you avoid it, can have real long-term effects on both your physical health and emotional well-being. This isn't just about sex. It's about your heart, your hormones, your nervous system, and maybe most importantly, your sense of self. Let's break it down. Your prostate pays the price. One of the most immediate and overlooked consequences of these common mistakes is prostate damage. Whether it's sitting for too long using too much pressure or failing to engage the pelvic floor, these habits strain a gland that's already vulnerable after 60. I've had patients tell me, "Doc, I thought it was just old age, but now I can't empty my bladder fully. I dribble. I feel pressure." And guess what? Many times the root of those symptoms wasn't a disease, it was mechanical stress built up over years of unconscious habits. BPH, benign prostatic, hyperplasia, inflammation, and even prostatitis can all be worsened by these subtle behaviors. And worst of all, most men don't connect the dots until the damage is already done. Circulation takes a hit. Let's talk about blood flow. After 60, your vascular system doesn't recover as fast. The pelvic region becomes more sensitive to tension, constriction, and pressure. That means rushing causes poor oxygen delivery. Hunched positions restrict veins and arteries. High-pressure stimulation leads to nerve fatigue and reduced sensitivity. Over time, this degrades your ability to achieve and maintain erections, even if your testosterone is normal. Many men assume it's a hormonal issue. But in reality, it's a circulatory issue. And yes, your habits may be to blame. Your brain learns numbness. Now let's go deeper. When you rely on porn or repeat the same mindless motions, you're not just touching your body, you're training your brain. The dopamine system responsible for pleasure and motivation adapts to overstimulation. That means each time you flood it, it becomes harder to feel something real. The result? You can watch hours of content. You can climax. but still feel empty, numb, and disconnected. That emotional flatness isn't just in your head, it's biochemical. And it can affect your ability to feel joy in every area of life, from meals to music to meaningful relationships. Mental health begins to suffer. There's also a psychological cost to these habits. Many older men carry shame, guilt, or secrecy around masturbation, especially if they were raised in conservative households or religious environments. So they rush it, they hide it, they disconnect from it, and eventually they disconnect from themselves. This leads to loneliness, anxiety, loss of confidence, even depression. Why? Because when intimacy becomes a shameful secret, it stops nourishing you. It starts draining you. And that's when something beautiful and natural turns into something hollow and harmful. The body forgets how to feel. One of the saddest patterns I see as a urologist is this: men who haven't touched themselves with intention for years come into my office saying, "Doc, I feel like I've lost something." And they're right. When you rush, when you grip too tightly, when you avoid your own body or treat it like a burden, you teach your nervous system to shut down. The body starts to believe, this doesn't matter, I don't matter. But here's the key. Just as your brain and body learned disconnection, they can also relearn connection. It's not about performance, it's about presence. What's at stake? If left unaddressed, these common masturbation mistakes can lead to erectile dysfunction, reduced libido, urinary issues, chronic pelvic pain, emotional detachment, increased shame and isolation. That's a high price to pay for a habit that should be healing, restorative, even sacred. And the worst part, most of it is preventable. But there's hope. The good news is the body is resilient, the mind is adaptable, and it's never too late to make a change. By understanding the harm, you're already halfway to healing. In the next section, we'll talk about how to reset your habits, restore your sensation, and rebuild the connection between your body, your brain, and your sense of self. Because this isn't just about avoiding pain. It's about reclaiming pleasure with wisdom, with care, and with dignity. And that starts now. What if I told you that everything you've been struggling with, numbness, low energy, lack of arousal, even emotional flatness, wasn't just a sign of aging, but a signal, a quiet signal your body has been trying to send you? Come back. I'm still here. The truth is, you don't need a pill. You don't need a miracle. What you need is something far more powerful and far more within reach. Awareness, intention, reconnection. Let's break that down. Step 1. Awareness. Seeing what's really happening. Most men don't realize that their daily habits, especially private ones, are quietly reshaping their health. The damage doesn't come with warning signs. It comes in drips, a little less sensitivity, a little more time to finish, a strange ache you can't explain, a disconnection you can't name. That's not aging. That's neglect, not from laziness, but from a lack of awareness. You've spent decades doing what worked before. But the truth is, your body has changed, and what worked at 30 might now be slowly draining you at 70. Awareness begins with noticing. How do you feel afterward, energized or empty? Are you rushing the process or letting yourself breathe? Are you present or just going through the motions? This is where healing starts, because you can't fix what you don't notice. Step 2. Intention, rewiring the habit loop. Here's something radical. What if self-touch wasn't just a habit but a practice? That's what intention means. It's the difference between brushing your teeth while half asleep and looking in the mirror and saying, I'm taking care of myself today. Intention transforms the experience. Instead of treating masturbation like a guilty escape, treat it like a form of care. A time to say, this body still matters. This life still matters. That means slowing down. Breathing deeply, using touch that feels nourishing, not just stimulating tuning in, instead of tuning out. And most importantly, being kind to yourself. This isn't about performing better. It's about feeling better from the inside out. Because when your brain associates pleasure with presence, something shifts. You stop chasing, you start receiving, and that alone can change your biochemistry. Step 3. Reconnection, returning to what's been lost. Let me ask you, when was the last time you truly felt connected to your own body, not just sexually, but spiritually, emotionally? For many men, the answer is heartbreaking. Not in years. Maybe not ever. Reconnection isn't just about fixing dysfunction. It's about rediscovering dignity. That begins by letting go of shame, making peace with change, learning to feel again, slowly, gently, respectfully. You can reconnect by doing things like practicing pelvic floor exercises, touching yourself mindfully without rushing, using breath and posture to invite relaxation, reflecting on what brings you joy, not just release. And if you've been isolated, it might also mean reaching out to a friend, a partner, a therapist, because you don't have to do this alone. One of the most powerful acts a man can do after 60 is this: refuse to go numb, a new model of male health. The old model said, push through, don't feel, just finish. But that model, it's outdated, and it's killing connection not just with others, but with yourself. The new model says, your body is still alive, your pleasure still matters. You deserve more than routine, you deserve resonance. And it doesn't come from pills, it comes from practice. Practice awareness, practice intention, practice reconnection. These are not soft ideas, they are strength in action. And they are how men over 60 not only restore their health, but reclaim their power. The good news, it's never too late. Your nervous system can relearn, your blood flow can improve. Your ability to feel deeply, honestly, even joyfully can return. But only if you listen, only if you begin. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Let this be the moment you stop hiding, stop rushing, stop assuming that aging means decline, and start believing again in connection. Not just to someone else, but to you. This is not about shame. It's about healing connection and aging with dignity. Let's be honest. When most older men hear someone talk about masturbation, especially past age 60, something tightens inside. A silent discomfort. A quick urge to tune out. Why? Because for decades we were taught one thing. If you talk about it, you're dirty. If you do it, you're weak. If you need it, you've failed. But here's the truth, that shame was never yours to carry. It was handed to you by silence, by stigma, by systems that feared the power of male vulnerability. And it's time to put it down, because what we're talking about here isn't lust, isn't weakness, isn't sin. It's healing, it's connection, it's aging with dignity. And if you've made it this far in life, still believing you have to choose between silence and shame, you deserve better. Shame shrinks the soul. Healing rebuilds it. You see, shame doesn't just live in the mind. It lives in the body, tightened muscles, shallow breath, a heart that no longer beats with joy. It lives in the decisions we don't make. Not reaching out, not touching ourselves with kindness, not speaking honestly about what's changing inside, but healing. Healing starts when we tell the truth. Your body has changed, and that doesn't mean it's broken. In fact, your body is trying to adapt to aging, to slower blood flow, to a lifetime of holding things in. And healing is what happens when you stop punishing your body and start partnering with it. That shift from shame to healing isn't just emotional. It's biological. It releases different hormones. It rebalances your nervous system. It brings the body out of tension and back into trust. That's when touch becomes medicine, not escape, not performance, just presence. This is about connection, not just release. We've been lied to, told that sex is something you give or take. That pleasure is just friction, that a man's worth ends when his performance declines. But let me tell you something as a doctor, and more importantly, as someone who has sat across from thousands of men just like you are more than your erection. You are not just a machine for output. You are a human being with nerves, blood breath, and a heart that longs to feel. And whether you're partnered or not, whether you've been intimate this year or not, you still deserve connection. Connection to your senses, to your memories, to your own skin. Because when you feel connected to yourself, you stand taller, you speak softer, you stop chasing things that never satisfied you, and you start receiving what was there all along. Connection doesn't come from how much you do. It comes from how you show up. And sometimes showing up simply means putting your hand on your chest and saying, I'm still here. I still matter. Aging isn't the enemy. Disconnection is, let's be clear, this is not about staying young. You don't need to be 25 again. You don't need six-pack abs or a sex life that looks like a commercial. You need something far more important, to know that you haven't been left behind. That's the real fear, isn't it? Not just physical decline, but emotional disappearance. Feeling like no one sees you anymore. Like your pleasure is a thing of the past. Like your needs are an inconvenience. But that's not true. And it never was. You deserve to age like a man with dignity. That means honoring the wisdom of your body. Not pushing past pain. Not numbing out. Not pretending you're fine when you're not. It means moving slower, touching deeper, breathing fuller. It means giving yourself permission to feel, even when culture tells you to perform. This is the new masculinity. The strongest men I've ever known weren't the ones who fought the hardest. They were the ones who felt the most without fear. They knew that masculinity isn't just power, it's presence, it's patience, it's kindness, especially in private. And that's what this message is really about. Not rules, not shame, not fixing what's wrong, but remembering what's still right. You can still feel. You can still grow. You can still touch with purpose. You can still live with depth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a more honest relationship with your health, with your pleasure, with your life. So let this be the moment you turn toward your body. Not with fear, but with reverence. And say, thank you for carrying me this far. Let's keep going with dignity. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment below, share your thoughts or your story. It helps others feel less alone. Save this video so you can revisit it whenever you need a reminder of your strength and worth. And if you found value here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is for men like you, men who want to age with dignity, power, and presence. Let's build a community where health, honesty, and healing come first. Your next chapter starts now, and we're in it together.